Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Industry Activation Podcast. My name is Jason Asher, along with Ryan Albretsen. Today's podcast is brought to you by OpenTech. Technology to the next level. He remembered. You remembered. Okay, Ryan. So we have a very, very special guest today. Mr. Colin Booth from eSonos is going to be joining us. Another NetSuite partner, located out in, I believe, Utah. And Colin brings with him, decades of NetSuite knowledge. And Colin and I were having a talk about our recent podcast topic with AI and ERP systems. And Colin had some very interesting things to say. So I said to Colin, I'm like, hey, why don't you join us? And we can all kind of talk it out. We all talk it out,
Yeah, sounds good.
I like it. So Ryan, without any further ado, let's let Colin in. Okay, everyone, please welcome Colin Booth to the Industry Activations Podcast. Colin, how are you today?
Great, thank you.
Colin is the managing director of eSonos, I believe, off in Utah?
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Salt Lake City, Utah. There you go. Home of the Jazz and Kevin Durant right now, I believe, right? No more.
Home of nobody and no winning basketball teams. But they did snipe Arizona's hockey team. So that's fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, very good. All right, so Colin, we I know you and I were having a little discussion about over LinkedIn about AI and ERPs, and Ryan and I kind of spoke about that last week about how AI might or might not revolutionize ERPs, and how Salesforce thinks that the AI agents and agentic AI is going to basically be the second coming of Salesforce. And I know you made some comments about using up some credits and whatnot. So I think, Colin, what we want to do today is kind of get your take on what's going on in the AI landscape when it comes to ERPs, and what you think is the biggest hurdle right now for adoption. What do you think is the biggest opportunity, and where you might see it, going long term?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, NetSuite just released, and they're doing a whole press conference, the whole rolling circus, and the AI marketing buzzword is ever prevalent in the world right now.
For everything.
Is there highly optimistic reasons that we should be shoving the AI buzz term down everybody's throats? Kind of.
Kind of.
AI,
That's interesting. Kind of, but not really.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you think about the phase that we were in the 90s when people said, hey, I'm going to start selling stuff online. If you imagine someone said that in 2000, in the year 2000, I think that's kind of the phase that we're in with AI.
So we're kind of in the Miva merchant phase, host-thesaurus phase of
Wait. Are you trying to say I don't need AI in my dishwasher?
Not yet.
Because that salesman over the weekend was really pushing this AI for my dishwasher. So, I mean,
you don't need AI in your dishwasher. No, but your
daddy dishwasher to come over and do the dishes.
But your dishwasher manufacturer needs to be ready to put AI into all of their dishwashers.
Okay, all right,
and that's why I think you're seeing this all over the place. I don't think that AI, the agentic models, if you've used them, if you've developed with them, if you've gotten your hands dirty with them, you kind of quickly see that they're I like to equate them right now. They're kind of in the high-speed idiot phase.
Right. I think that's a great way to explain it. It's a great way.
Yeah. Don't let a high-speed idiot run your business, but high-speed idiots can be very useful, right? Very, very useful.
We can say, hey, look at the Harris campaign. Look what happened there. So.
Yeah, or hey, what color is this product? Green.
Yeah.
And you think that, like, people think that that's dumb, but okay, well, now scale that up. When you have 100,000 product descriptions,
sure,
how many hours can the high-speed idiot save you?
Right.
And do it very accurately and say, that one's green, that one's blue, that one's yellow. Right. Now that's the phase we're at. That's where AI has become really powerful at the moment.
And Colin, how many, if we look at the landscape of the ecosystem right now, we look at the platforms, we look at the partners, we look at the eSonoses of the world, the OpenText of the world, and then we look at the clients, and then ultimately the client's end customer, and that kind of like ecosystem of 5, if you will. Within that ecosystem, how many, I would say, within those different layers of the ecosystem, how would you describe from what you're seeing, like how many people really understand what they're doing? Like do the platforms understand what they're selling? Do the partners understand what they're implementing? Do the clients understand what they're buying? And does the end customer understand the value from a customer experience standpoint?
Yeah, I think that if we go back to our earlier analogy, how many people understood it when e-commerce was on the rise? How many, look at like a company like Sears that kind of rejected e-commerce, and then look how foolish they looked down the line, right? Now, I don't think that it's unfair to say that we're in that time period. NetSuite, if you look at the way NetSuite's been releasing their own products over the last 4-ish, 5-ish years, you saw them hit the brakes really hard on stuff like budget products and just these modules, right? Because ERPs throughout its life cycle has been, well, just make it do more, make it work for a construction company, make it work for a logistics company, and then they're just basically piling in spaghetti code and making the product wider and wider and wider. But now look at what they're releasing now. It's fewer because all of their time and effort, I'm sure, and all of their budget has been put into AI. So they just barely gave us access to write SweetScript, to access the Cohere. I don't want to call it an embedded AI model, but it's a language model inside of NetSuite that you can access. We just got access to that just recently.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, language models have a lot of struggle, but like I said earlier, with the high-speed idiot analogy, now you have all these products, all these things. NetSuite brought you bill capture. It's like, hey, toss an invoice in, and we'll turn it into a bill. And my side project was, hey, if I could source a PDF invoice anywhere, could I spit out the query to go find that in my NetSuite? Right. So the percentage of that right now that I see, very low. And I'm surprised that NetSuite hadn't given early access to anybody to say, hey, our suite app is AI powered already, fully running. But NetSuite themselves are certainly on that, and all over it right now.
Right. Yeah, because I remember when I was at NetSuite and we did product releases. It was a bit more matured in kind of being GA versus like having exclusive access to 1 or 2 modules, like 1 or 2 partners, and it seems like there's kind of a pullback there because I'm guessing that if they're walking on eggshells right now, that kind of tells you where they're at, and it's no different than Salesforce, ServiceNow, Oracle, or any even SAP is like decades behind as far as I'm concerned. In that race. So it's interesting because like they have to they're in a position where it's a public company, so they have to sell more software now. And then there's also the position of, well, we actually have to have rate of adoption, change management, and champions that are actually going to do a great job with this. And it's fascinating to see how, it's really being held close to the vest. Whereas if you're an actual AI company, like an OpenAI or Gemini or DeepSeek or, Claude or whoever you are, you want people to build things and break things as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of wondering, you kind of get some second thoughts about that. Like if we could break stuff, we could fix stuff. And, it's interesting how held back it is. But, Colin, go into your initial analogy of hey, this is a color green. Let's update all these records. I can remember, dealing with clients that had, 1 to 2 to 3 to 5 million records of items that were, it was really like B2B, like janitorial support back in the day. There was a rush of those companies in like 16, 17, and 18 that were doing that. And it was always fascinating to me that they would build script after script after script, and I would get the call as the as a guy that was through the directing partner operations globally for these commerce partners, like, hey, Jason, help! There's not enough sweet cloud here to like update all that. So what else, Colin? In the last few minutes that we have together, like what else would you see from your point of view outside of like updating color, shape, size? What other applications, at least short term, would you see that would be applicable? And then in terms of long term, what would be from a partner standpoint where you implement the AI and you implement your clients' systems? What would you want to see that would make your day better from a partner standpoint?
I think that NetSuite themselves, okay, so first place, NetSuite themselves figured out where to leverage this. They put it in the financial planning and budgeting module, which is just a absolute perfect use case for AI, right? It just, whatever you think your budgeting clerk, your corporate controller does in spreadsheets and does NetSuite save searches and puts stuff in spreadsheets and aggregates all this data, you can now do that much quicker and
Right.
higher accuracy, right? The second part that I think I would see a big push in AI is all of these apps, all the AP apps out there. There's so much you can do with just queryable data and prompts all inside of NetSuite. You can query data, you can prompt into NetSuite, and you can get output. And that's the agentic process, what everyone's calling it right now. That's a good adoption of the agentic process. And it's not a big lift to do that, but now it presents the problems of, you're going to see fundamental changes to all these apps to start to try to push to adopt AI. And we're kind of joking at the beginning. You're like, what's the landscape of AI products in ERP? And my prediction, and someone can watch this 5 years later, ERP products will become AI products. The whole thing, it'll be run by AI. There will be ERPs where the interface is a AI text box, and you ask it things and it returns your data, and you tell it to make bills and you tell it to pay invoices, and it'll run completely by embedded AI. And I think if I had to guess, NetSuite is probably considering that reality for their product.
And then what? And then this is fascinating. This is fascinating, Colin. Absolutely fascinating. And then what does a partner do at that point? Does a partner just kind of do setup and config and maybe even some light data migration, if that data migration is even a thing? Like what do you think going to do at that point?
I think in the long-term future, people joke AI is going to take my job, and I laugh because I have some developing skills, and it cannot take my job, and even the code that I can write, which is not very sophisticated these days. I think that learning how to prompt and run a productized AI model will become a huge skill set as a partner, right? If it shifts towards this AI, everything's being run and driven by AI. Now you're going to have your users asking you, well, how do we run the AI efficiently, right? And then, the big problem with generative AI right now is the validation loop, what you input it and what it outputs, and being able to correct it. People talk to their chat GPT like it's a person, but once you start to learn to talk to it like it's an AI model, its validation loop can really start to kick in.
We're seeing that with a couple of products that we're building right now. And the validation loop then turns into a learning model that turns into, if using OpenAI, it turns into fine tuning. It turns into assistance. It turns into evaluations. You have to have storage with different vectors there, and you kind of have to go through those processes to really uncover where or what you need to attack to teach the AI what it needs. So I think Colin, I think to counterpoint, in my mind, I think you're right with the prompts. I think the prompts are absolutely spot on. Where I think the specialization is going to go is going to be, well, if you're using NetSuite and using NetSuite, whether it's Cohere, Oracle, whoever it is, and you have your prompt models, the development or the black box is no longer going to be how do you stand it up, how do you do the customization. The black box is going to now be, well, what AI are you going to use? So let's say that code here is not valid. You're going to go through Gemini, you're going to go through Claude, you're going to go through OpenAI. Which one's going to be the right fit? And then once you find the fit, then you have to apply the development to it. But I think that there's always going to be a need, I think, for really great partners to build amazing experiences. I think, like you said, the fast idiots are going to crash fast. And I think that's going to be the bottom line. But I think where the partner advisement is going to change, and I'd like to get your feedback on this. I think where the partner advisement is going to change, like you said, it's going to be a prompt model. But in my mind, there's still something else. There's still something else that's coming from this, from the prompt model. Because it's not going to be. I think it's going to be enough to do in the short term. But there seems to be something bigger. There seems to be a bigger piece here.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, you're an implementation of an ERP now. If AI takes off in these things, you need to start to think about, well, the way that you've implemented and set up your ERP is going to partially drive these powerful AI engines.
Right.
So now do we have to think about your implementation, your setup of your, because ERP implementation is how do you want your data arranged? Would you simplify it down, right? So now you got to look at through this new lens. It's not just your operational, your fiscal company data. It's how can we structure this so it's ingestible by these super powerful tools? And then on the flip side of that, how do we make it cheap? Because it's going to have a cost factor. That these things are going to be. It's going to be a whole different world of costs. Yeah. When we start talking about tokenization and usage. So now you have this whole new landscape. I think it'll be interesting to see how will that affect your partner ecosystem.
What would really fascinate me is that when you look at like, let's say like RF Smart, a company like Zoku, a company like I don't know, insert name a WMS vendor, ShipHawk or FreightHop, whatever. Let's say each one of those companies has a different AI. One has OpenAI, one has Oracle's, one has Amazon's, one has Claude, one has this, one has that. And then NetSuite's going to have, let's say, Cohere or Oracle's AI, built into their system. Now, whereas right now, to get disparate systems hooked up, what do? You have an iPass, right? The iPass comes in, it shares the information, they go back and forth. Now, most likely, the evolution of iPass is not just going to be connecting systems. We're going to have to connect AIs, and we're going to have to connect different models. So you could have one model that's really pristine in OpenAI. You could have a hot mess in Gemini.
Yep.
And any Gemini stuff that I've done, man, it has been a hot mess. And if you go with the pristine tools that OpenAI has, there's probably going to have to be like a prime AI. And then like anything in the technology industry, the software business or ERP business, you're going to have all these different partners with developers that are kind of hyped off going, well, I can only use this one. And that's going to create all sorts of awesomeness, across the board there.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like us, right? I mean, we're our whole company started as this micro experts of integrating NetSuite to anything, and when that started, it was like this really, really good skill. Oh, people are like, oh, you know how to integrate NetSuite to whatever. And it's like, yeah, of course. You just brought up, the future. Multi-billion-dollar company is the iPaaS-based AI for system-to-system communication. We don't have time to go through that.
I would like to officially, I want to name it Albretsen AI.
There you go.
The AI that connects AI to AI for the sake of AI.
For the sake of AI, yeah. So, yeah, when you look back at it, is it highly useful? I tried the Einstein thing in Salesforce the other day, and it said, hey, if you want to win this deal, extend them a 20% discount. I was like,
okay,
got it. That was it. I'm dumb. I should just lower my price.
Hey boss.
Yeah.
I listened to Einstein. I offer them 20%. Right.
Yeah, that's the deal.
Exactly.
Not closed.
Yeah.
No. It's still open. I'll ask Einstein. Okay, bye.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where we are, but we're quickly leaving that space. And So I had a client the other day and they said, hey, their whole thing they wanted me to do was evaluate knowledge bases based on their outlook and their plan to incorporate AI into their product. So there's really big companies with really smart people that are already on that roadmap. And if you're a product owner or a partner or a service provider and you're not already looking at the impact of that, you'll be left behind really quick.
Wow.
2-3 years, you'll be way out of the game. You know.
So in other words, product management is really the first one on a chopping block right now. Like if you're not super dialed into this, you're done basically.
If I ran a huge company and I'm shopping for any product, I would ask them the question, what's your AI roadmap? I want to see it.
Yeah.
If you don't have an answer to that, you will no longer be in my selection process.
Right. Yep.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, Colin, we've thoroughly enjoyed having you on the Industry Activations podcast today. We very much thank you for your time and thank you for your insights. And if there is a useful idiot watching this podcast that became a fast idiot, as Colin pointed out, we would love to hear from you. And what you think about Colin. We love to hear from you. All right. Well, on behalf of Ryan Albretsen and myself, as well as Colin, we really thank you for watching today. And Colin, you're welcome back anytime to say whatever's on your mind. And we look forward to getting more insights from you in the future.
Thank you.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, guys. Be well.